Has anybody out there got a sense that you have been chosen for something? I feel the Spirit of God, because what you need to understand is that when people that don't want you to be chosen find out that you're chosen, they gonna fight you. But you got to realize that the fight is confirmation that you have been chosen to be great. People don't bother people that they don't believe will be what they said. They only bother you because they believe that God is working. I'm going to preach here after a while. Y'all sit down. Let's have a little conversation. We early. Let's sit down. The first thing that you have to understand about being great is that being great is not about your predisposition. You don't qualify on your own. And it's usually the people that think that they cute are usually the people that never go far. Because they think that what they got because it was something about them. But no, what God is doing in your life has nothing to do with who you are absent his choice. Because if we were to look at you for who you really are, we would find out that you got some problems. Touch your neighbor and say, neighbor, I'm crazy. Outside of the anointing, you don't even want to know me. It always baffles me that when you come to church, Flamingo, people want to start trying you. They want to mess with you because they think because you're saved that you don't got that switch. But touch your neighbor, say, neighbor, I ain't a killer, but don't push me. You see, what you have to understand is that when God is working in your life, you can be quiet. You can be humble because you realize that what they do or what they say cannot stop you anyway. So the fact that I ignore you just means that you don't even register. Touch your neighbor and say, neighbor, you got to look over the small stuff. The story opens, and God says to Samuel, Samuel, why are you worried about Saul? I've already rejected Saul. You need to be focused on what I'm focused on. I have chosen a man for myself. The thing about this is that David has no claim to the throne. He's not in Saul's bloodline. But touch your neighbor and say, neighbor, when you're really anointed, you don't got to come through the network. When you're really anointed, God will bring you from the outside and make everybody on the inside ask the question, who is this person? God does not have to bring you up through the old boys club. God don't need the board. God don't need nobody. But when God chooses you, he said, I choose you and can't nobody stop it. God chooses David in spite of everything that's around him. He doesn't choose, and I'm glad he doesn't choose based on pedigree. I'm glad he doesn't choose based on height, because I never would have got chose. I'm glad he doesn't choose based on size, because I'm stretched the wrong way in a couple different places. But I'm glad that God looks at what's inside of somebody. And the thing about what God sees, he doesn't see what you are. He sees what you have the potential to be. So no matter who you are right now, when God calls you, understand that he sees in you the raw material to make you great. You don't have to go to the best schools. You don't have to come from the best neighborhood. You don't have to have the best degree. But when God anoints your life, God will make those that were first be last. Touch your neighbor and say, neighbor, I may not be your choice, but I'm still chosen. God says to Samuel, stop worrying about Saul. That time is done. I see a man, and this man is a man after my own heart. Now, with all the things that I told you about David, how can God look at this man and say that this is a man after my own heart? David was bloody. David was lustful. David was a killer. David was a bad parent. David was a bad man. On David's deathbed, he was telling Solomon, now make sure you kill this one, make sure you kill this one, and don't let that one live. David was a bad man. But still, God looked at him and said he is a man after my own heart. Now, this should encourage some of you in here, because some of you have a story that's dirty. Somebody better say amen, because then I'm going to get vivid with your dirtiness. Some of you have been, how should I say this, promiscuous in your life. You've been around. People know about you. Some of you have been thugs in your life. You stood on the corner and you waited by the train station, and it was Friday, and when the man got off the train, you said, stick him up. Some of you know all the hotels in Brooklyn in alphabetical order. You can run them backwards. Some of you have smoking more stuff. You got a permanent smell on you. You think that the perfume masking? No, we still know that weed is coming out of your pores. But thanks be unto God that God is able to look at other things, because if God were like people would disqualify you for your shortcomings. And the thing I like most about God is that he works with us through our shortcomings instead of talking about us. God sees what David will be instead of all of David's mistakes. My time is going. I got to get to the preachy part. So God told Samuel, don't worry about it. Samuel said to God, God, if I go to anoint whoever you tell me, Saul is going to find out and Saul is going to kill me. God said, don't worry about it. I got a plan. And I came to tell you that you don't have to worry about how you're going to get to where God promised you will be. God has a plan. People will try to stop the plan. People will try to come against the plan. But when God ordains something, he has already ordained how it will come to pass. Sometimes you think that people persecuting you is trying to stop you. But what you don't realize is that sometimes persecution leads you to where you are supposed to be. Can I tell you this part of the story? When David finally got into Saul's court, David was a man of war. David went out and he was fighting wars, and they was coming back from war, and the women started singing. And fellas, you know when the women start singing about you, you know you're doing good, right? The women started to say, Saul killed his thousands, but David his tens of thousands. And Saul got jealous of David because he was insecure. So what Saul did, Saul thought he was stopping David by kicking him out of the court. He made David go dwell with the people. But when you got favor over your life, God will allow you to find favor wherever you are. David went out amongst the people, and all the people fell in love with him. And that's how he got to be king. Because by right, when Saul died, it should have been one of his children that succeeded him. But because Saul kicked David out amongst the people, and the people got a chance to find out what David was, they loved him. So even when your enemy thinks that they're doing you harm, you don't even realize that they're pushing you into your destiny. Touch your neighbor and say, neighbor, all the stuff you say about me only pushes me into my destiny. It's because of you that I'm on my knees praying at night. It's because of you that I'm fasting. It's because of you that I'm in my word, because I will never let you have the last word to say you were right. I'm going to succeed because of. Touch your neighbor and say, neighbor, I'm succeeding because of the hate. I'm succeeding because I know there's a group of people that's watching me. See, have you ever know that people was watching you? And when you know that people are watching you, you make sure that your dress is nice. You make sure that the shoes match the dress. You make sure that you spray that good perfume on you, because it's nothing better than walking by a hater looking good, smelling good, and know they can't do nothing about it. Touch your neighbor and say, neighbor, you make me look this good. You make me look good because I made up my mind that every time I see you, all you're going to be able to do is be mad, be jealous. You're going to be envious. And touch your neighbor one more time and say, neighbor, if you don't like me, you about to be real upset, because I know as a matter of fact that God chose me for greatness, and now it's time that I let the world know that I'm chosen in spite of who don't like it. I'm going to live good and drive good and preach good and sing good, not because I'm good, but because the God that chose me anointed me. The God that chose me, I'm walking in his power. Don't look at me for what I am, but look at the God that's behind me. My God is awesome. My God can take a nothing and make him something. Have you ever seen somebody that was messed up, but God saved them? They look good. They don't have the stench of their past on them. You see, sometimes some people, if they were naked, you would see that they got scars, but where they've been stabbed. I've been stabbed. I've been cut. I've been bruised, but I'm still great. I know I got a limp. I know that I got some sin, but still the sin can't stop me, because now, therefore, there is no condemnation. I know that I messed up, but still God chose me. I know that I done failed, but still God chose me. I'm chosen. I'm chosen. Touch your neighbor and say, neighbor, you're chosen. You see, sometimes God will choose the one that you least expect, just so that people will know that God don't care about your title. God don't care about your name. God don't care about what school you've been to. God is looking for a heart that he can work in. It's amazing that God will take the little and the lowly and raise him up and make him rule over everybody. I dropped my bracelet somewhere around here, but somebody get it for me. Touch your neighbor and say, neighbor, you don't gotta kiss nobody's behind. Just be what God said. You don't gotta lobby. You don't gotta be fake. You don't gotta front. You don't gotta lie. All you gotta be is a heart that says, God, I glorify you. You see, we got too much. I don't want to offend nobody. We got too many people that they brown nosing these days. But when God anoints you, you don't got to kiss up. All you got to do is walk with integrity. You don't got to, you see,